Anybody here for the first time? Oh, all right. First lap, we'll talk about some of the exhibits, so you kind of know when you're walking the grounds, you have kind of an idea what you're looking at. Two honks means forward in railroad signals. And then the last two laps will tell you about the Galloping Goose and how they all came to be. Unique piece of railroading equipment anywhere in the world, Galloping Geese. The museum has been here since 1959, but it started out earlier in Alamosa, Colorado, as the Narrow Gauge Motel. And the owner of the motel was a rail historian, and these cars here were stored in Alamosa near his motel. And he knew they were very historic, and he also heard they were going to be scrapped and destroyed. So he bought the railroad cars and parked them on the parking lot of his motel, took up all the parking for his guests. So he and his business partner decided to come up here and find land near Denver, but not in Denver. So they did that. This was a 15-acre vegetable farm, and the farmer was ready to retire and get out of the farming business. So they bought this land and laid down a few pieces of track to display their collection. And then as it grew, we've laid more track. We're up to about 7 miles of track all told out here on the grounds. We do all our restoration right here on the grounds, and that happens in the red brick building here. It's called a roundhouse, 5-stall roundhouse. It's got 5 tracks running into it. So we have 5 projects going at once, most any given time. It's a fully equipped machine shop and carpentry shop. We also do all our own painting here as well. On the back side here, you can see the black hanging lamp. If you go in that door, there's a viewer's gallery, and you can go in and see what goes on in the shop. You can see the vast array of tools. And I think they're working on a locomotive today. The cars we're passing here were all built in the 1880s and 1890s. The tank cars are 1905s. The open-air cars were built here on our grounds. We built these on old flat car chassis. And we use those when we do the full steam train in the summer in the nice weather. The caboose we're coming up on we use all the time, and that's in 1879. That's also in the National Register of Historic Places. The restorations we do, a cosmetic restoration means you put something back together and paint it to make it look new, but you never use it. Locomotive 318 is that. That's an 1896 locomotive, been worn out for years, but it's kind of unique in its design. So we painted that a few years ago and parked it up here on the hill, put all the parts back on it, and it's sat there ever since. One of these days looks like we need to touch up the paint again. Looks like the garden scale layout is shut down for the day, which is kind of not a surprise. That's one of the larger public access G-scale layouts in the U.S. We also have a large HO layout in the basement under the gift shop. So when you go back in that side door, keep going past the drinking fountain to go downstairs and go see that. Out to your right here, the small black locomotive number 191 is in 1880. It's the oldest in the state. The vehicle on the other side of it, the silver vehicle, is Galloping Goose number 2. That's the first goose that was built with the car body in front and the box in the back. And the question we get from museum visitors is, why would a railroad ever build anything like that or like this? That story, but that answer to that goes all the way back to the late 1880s. In the late 1880s, the United States currency was based in silver, which meant, by law, that for every dollar that any of the U.S. mints would create, they had to have a dollar's worth of silver in a federal vault. Well, as the U.S. mints began to crank up production and make more money in coins, silver mining boomed, and most of that was in southwestern Colorado. So they were bringing wagon loads of silver ore down to the smelter in Durango, but the demand was such that the wagon loads couldn't keep up. So the gentleman who owned the toll roads that the wagons ran on laid rails and called it the Rio Grande Southern so that they could run train loads of ore down to the smelter in Durango. And for 2.5 years, the railroad made money as fast as they could count it. All the towns they ran through were mining boom towns, and it was a big deal. I mean, there was so much money in the southern part of the state. But in 1893, through some political maneuvering, the U.S. switched from a silver standard to a gold standard. And when that happened, all the silver mines closed. All the people that were the silver kings went broke. The miners moved out of Colorado. The families went with them. The shopkeepers went with them. And so this railroad that had run through all these mining boom towns ran through the same towns, but now they were ghost towns. The only thing that kept the railroad afloat was that they had the federal mail contract. They were paid by the U.S. government to deliver the mail 6 days a week to that whole string of mountain towns. But without any extra freight and without any extra passengers, the money they got for delivering the mail didn't cover their cost of operation. So slowly but surely, the railroad just kind of spiraled down the financial drain. And in 1929, when the Great Depression hit, the decision was made to shut down the Rio Grande Southern. The guys in the shop went to management and said, if you do that, we're out of work, we won't find jobs anywhere in the country. We have an idea. Starting in 1905, up around Boston, railroads would buy an automobile, which was kind of a novelty item then, take the wheels and tires off, put rail wheels on that automobile, and take it up and down the rails, and they deliver a doctor to the next town, or they deliver medicine and make a big deal out of that. But then they would also sell advertising space on the car. And it worked. People always noticed that car going by on the rails. So, Rio Grande Southern had an old Buick that they used to deliver packages. They brought it in the shop, they took the tires and wheels off, they put rail wheels on it, the steering wheel came out. You don't need a steering wheel. And they cut the car in half. The back half became a flatbed truck. The front half was where the passengers rode. It worked. One guy in a tank of gas, it was cheap to operate. All the station agents and the track guys got to keep their jobs. And besides running a few trains, they ran that vehicle all the time. At the end of the summer, they thought they were really onto something, and then they noticed all the rust on the Buick, and parts started to just fall off of it. So they thought that they were done with their great idea, and someone told the railroad that if you used a Pierce Arrow automobile, since they're made of solid aluminum, they'll never have rust. So they went to the junkyard and got a Pierce Arrow sedan, welded an extension onto the frame, put the big box on the back, passengers rode in the front, put rail wheels on it, and that's Goose number 2. That proved to be such a hit, they immediately went back to the junkyard, got another Pierce Arrow, built another Goose. No blueprints, no plans, just kind of started at the front of the car and worked your way back. So by 1936, they built the last Goose, which was this one. This is also the largest of the geese. And they quit running trains. They just ran Galloping Geese up and down the 190 miles of the route. So they ran trains all the way through 1930, or Greek geese, all the way through 1930, all the way through World War II. But after the war, surplus trucks were coming back from Europe. You could buy a surplus army truck for $5. People would do that, start a freight business, and that hurt the railroad. People bought their own cars, roads improved, that hurt the railroad. So they thought they were done as a railroad and getting ready to close it down, and the guys in the shop said, we've got another idea. So they brought all the geese into the main shop in Ridgeway, Colorado. They cut holes in the sides for windows. They cut that hole for the door in the back. They put the coal stove back there. They put the refreshment stand up here, and they ran these as excursion trains for tourists. They'd stop anytime you could get off and camp or go hike and catch another one going back home. I mean, however you wanted to do it. And they ran these until 1951, and then the railroad just finally went under. This Goose was in a junkyard in Durango until 1975. It came here in pieces. It sat under tarps out here for years. We finally got grant money from the state to start putting it back together. We took this down to the chassis. There was nothing left but the frame. We started over and built it all back up with all the original parts. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. We run the Goose every Saturday starting April 15th. One Saturday a month, and then more in the summer. We'll run a train on the weekends. That's a full steam train with the 1881 passenger cars for the same admission cost. We have food vendors and entertainment on the grounds. There's always lots to do on a steam day.